Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley and I'm here at Scrapbook.com super excited to show you a look at the BetterPress machine, and we're going to be using my new BetterPress plates along with this machine and share all of the basics with you and some amazing things you can create with BetterPress. Alright, so first let's start off by doing an unboxing of the BetterPress machine. So inside of here you get a couple of BetterPress plates as well as the actual machine, and there's also some little extras inside of the box. So you get a lot of different tools, so you're all ready to get started with your BetterPress. You get Spellbinder's yellow tape, which is a nice little masking tape. You also get the BetterPress black ink, so you're all ready to ink things up. It's a nice permanent ink. And then you get some BetterPress cardstock in here in 3 different colors. You get it in their white, the cream color, and the gray color. And this is a really thick cotton cardstock, so it's a really great texture to work with, and it's nice and thick, so it's going to impress beautifully with your BetterPress plates. But you can also use whatever cardstock you have on hand as well. It just might not get as much of an impression into it. Then inside of here, you have the actual BetterPress machine. You're going to get the top plate, which has magnetic corners here, and it just has a piece of plastic on top to keep it protected during shipping. So you'll just peel that right off, and it's a nice acrylic surface on here. Then you also have the different BetterPress plates inside of here. It's a large floral as well as 2 different sentiments along with it. And then you have the actual BetterPress platform. And this has a nice magnetic surface down here that you can line things up with. And this is actually removable, so if you ever need to replace this for whatever reason, if yours gets damaged, you can always purchase another one to place inside of your platform, which is really nice. I like that they thought of that. So inside of here, you also get some instructions, so you'll want to read those through, as well as a little shim, or a couple of different shims. And these are just thin pieces of plastic, so that if you need a little bit more pressure inside of your BetterPress machine, you can always put 1, 2, or all 3 of these inside of here, and then put your magnetic shim on top. That's going to make it a little bit thicker in case if you need that, but usually I just use it like this, and I find that it works perfectly for me. So let's start off by showing you the basics of BetterPress and how to get a beautiful image with the BetterPress machine. So I'm going to be creating this card in the end, and we're going to BetterPress all of these images from my set called Spring Bunnies. I absolutely love this one. It is perfect for the spring and Easter time, and it makes such amazing cards. You have different sentiments in here like Happy Easter, and Happy Spring, and some really great bunny and Easter tulip images and different eggs all throughout. It's a really fun set. And inside of here, you also get all of the coordinated dies to cut all the little images out, so it makes it really easy. And all the dies are already detabbed and separated for you. So I'm going to pull out the images that I want to use. I'm going to use this standing bunny image, as well as the basket, and one of these little tulips. And then I'll use the Happy Spring sentiment, because that's really fun because you can send that for lots of different times of year in the spring. It doesn't need to be a specific holiday. You could just be checking in on a friend and send a card that says Happy Spring. And then I'll also pull out the different dies that coordinate right along with it. So super easy to pull off from the packaging. I like this because, like I said, otherwise like the cardstock is like ripping that it comes on. So this is a really nice way to pull it off of the vellum. All right, so getting right into it, I'm going to lift off the top acrylic platform here. It's just magnetic, and then we're going to tape down a piece of cardstock right onto here. You'll notice that it has A2 markings for the corners, and it also has A7 markings. So depending on what size cardstock you're going to use, it's really easy to center it up right on the surface. And I'm going to go in using some of the BetterPress cardstock. This comes along in the kit. You get a little pack of each one of these colors, but I also wanted to show you that they come separately as well. So you have porcelain, which is that sort of white color. Then you have bisque, which is this kind of creamy color. And then you have pebble, which is this nice gray color. So they're all very beautiful colors, and you can get them in A2 card panels, but also larger sizes too if you want to. And it's just got an amazing texture to it. It's really a great cardstock. So I'm going to set this off to the side, and then let's tape this right onto the surface of our lid. So I'll just line it up right inside of those A2 size markings, and then you could use the tape that comes with it, or I'm going to go in with a little bit of mint tape as well, which works just as well, and I'm going to tape it down to the surface. This is just a nice low tack adhesive, so it's going to peel off without ripping our cardstock later. Then we're going to line up any of the BetterPress plates that we want to use. And I love that there's these markings on the bottom platform as well, because it matches up with these markings here. So you can line things up inside of this A2 surface right here, and you know exactly where it's going to be on the card panel. So then I'm going to grab the BetterPress plates. The BetterPress plates of the set are gray. They're this nice gray color, and the dies are this kind of rose gold or copper color, so you know the difference between them. And I'm just going to place these down on the surface. Now it doesn't really matter where I place things because we are going to end up cutting it out later. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of space in between each one of the images as I lay them out onto the surface here. Super easy. Just like that. And these are magnetic, so it doesn't move very much. I mean, it still can move if you force it, but I like that it's a nice, strong magnet on this surface, so it's not going to move as you run it through your project. Now, this came with a BetterPress black ink, but Spellbinders also sells a bunch of different colors of inks, and there's even more than just this little selection in here. They come in little 4-packs, and they're all mini ink pads. And I love the mini ink pad size because it's really easy to color in these images and not get ink all over the surface of your platform here. So I'm going to grab out a couple brown colors for the bunny that I want to use, and then I'll also grab a couple of brighter colors that we can use for the florals and the leaves and the eggs inside of the basket. So to do my inking, I'm going to go in with a little bit of this tawny brown color first, and I'm going to ink up the bunny. Now when it comes to using your BetterPress ink pads, instead of just tapping like this, because that doesn't get a ton of ink onto the surface, I like to go in and I'm just going to kind of tap and then kind of zhuzh it back and forth just a little bit, and that's going to give you a great amount of color onto the surface there. Now you'll notice there still is a little bit of ink that's getting onto the magnetic surface, but I'll show you how to clean that off later. It's no big deal. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this basket image. And again, one thing that I love about these little mini ink pads is I'm able to sort of tilt it on the side like this to just get some of the image inked and then leave other parts of the image blank because we're going to color those in with a different color in just a bit. So then I'll go in and color that basket handle, just tilting the ink pad on its side and coloring things in. All right. Then we can go in with bark if I want to add a little bit of depth and dimension. This is a little bit of a darker brown. And I'm just going to go in again and just add a little bit of color here and there on those same images to darken them up in some areas. Then we're going to go in with some other colors. So here I'm going to use leaf, and I'm going to go in and just again, using the edge of that ink pad, I'm going to add a little bit of color down to the leaves of those tulips, as well as a little bit of greenery that's on that basket. So super easy to do. Just using that corner of the ink pad, gets into really small little fine areas. And you don't need to be super detailed with it. I'm just trying to kind of add a little bit of ink, and then once you kind of get the ink down there, it'll just kind of be a suggestion of that color. Really nice. All right, then we're going in with a little bit of Tuscan, which is this kind of yellow color, and we'll add it down to some of those eggs as well as some of the tulips. And then finishing off, we're going in with a little bit of Wildberry, which is this kind of nice bright pink color, and add it to some of the eggs and the tulips. All right. That looks perfect. And then last but not least, we'll go in with a little bit of that BetterPress black. This is a nice dark, crisp, jet black ink, and I'm going to just do the happy spring sentiment. Really easy. All right, so now that we're done with all of our inking, we're going to then go in with our BetterPress platform with this cardstock facing down. We're going to magnet it right into the surface. Now don't press on this because that will kind of press it down into there. Just keep it right like this. It's actually suspended above that platform there, so it's not touching the surface of those BetterPress plates. Then we're going to bring in our Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Now you need a Platinum 6 die cutting machine for this. That's the size that's going to fit the BetterPress platform through. You could also use a larger Platinum machine, but you can't use a Scout with this BetterPress. It's not going to fit inside of there. So then we'll go right into here, place that in, and then slowly run it right through our die cutting machine. And this is going to give a really great amount of pressure down to the surface there. It doesn't feel like anything's happening because it's really easy to run through, but trust me, that's getting impressed into the cardstock, and it's going to give a beautiful impression with that BetterPress. All right, so once we ran it all through there, I'm going to move that Platinum 6 off to the side again, and then we will do the reveal, and this is so much fun. So you can lift this off that magnetic surface. I love that it's magnetic because it's so easy. And check out those images. I absolutely love how it looks. It is so beautiful. You can see there, and there's a bunch of texture too. I don't know, it's hard to capture on the surface of a camera here, but in person, it gives this beautiful, like, impressed texture into the cardstock. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it creates a really cool letterpress effect. Now that's because this cardstock is nice and thick. That BetterPress cardstock works really well with this. But like I said, if you use any other kind of cardstock too, that will work. It just won't give you as much texture if it's not as thick. So it just gives kind of a nice letterpress texture when you're able to touch the cardstock. It feels very luxurious. And then it also gave a beautiful stamped impression. Super crisp impression. Those inks did a great job, and I find that the BetterPress does like an even better job at getting all that detail rather than just stamping. It's really cool. So I'm going to lift this off the surface here, and you'll notice that mint tape doesn't rip the cardstock, so it's really nice. And then we can go in and just show you quickly how to clean off the surface of your BetterPress plates and that magnetic system. So for cleaning, I like to use the Archival Ink Cleaner by Ranger. Now, Spellbinders actually made these inks in collaboration with Ranger. They're a little bit of a different formula than Archival, but they do have the same properties where they are nice and permanent once dry. So you see, I was rubbing my finger all over that, and it's not moving, it's not budging. So you need an Archival Ink Cleaner because this has a solvent in it, which is going to break down the ink that's on the surface there. Now, these inks will probably still stain because they are very permanent, but the Archival Ink Cleaner is one of my favorites because it's going to do the best job at cleaning out the surface here. So I'm just going to go in with some of that Archival Ink Cleaner. It's on a little dabber top bottle here, and I'm just going to dab that right onto the surface of my plates. Then I'm going to go in with one of these tearaway microfiber cloths from Scrapbook.com. I like this black color here, and it does a great job at cleaning these right up. So I'll just go into here. You can already see that it's kind of melting away at that ink already. It's doing a great job. And we'll just go in on that surface and start wiping these off. Now, do you need to do this every time that you use your BetterPress? You don't really have to, but I do find that this cleaner is nice if you like to keep things very clean and pristine, and you like your plates nice and clean. So that's going to do a great job. Now notice they are still a little bit stained from that ink. That's totally okay. This is kind of how they should look. You don't need them to be perfectly spotless because they're not going to be as clean as they were ever after you take them out of the package and start using them. But hey, a stain stamp is a love stamp, and the same thing applies with your BetterPress plates. It just means that you're using them and you're getting some love out of them, which is great. So then let's set aside the BetterPress for just a second. I want to show you how to color these in quickly. So to color these in, you could totally leave them as is because they have some great color with all of those inks already. But I'm going to go in and do a little bit of watercoloring using my Simon Hurley Create ink pads. So all you need to do is take these colors and open the ink pads, and then I just smoosh them down onto a craft sheet or a non-stick surface because that's going to act as a palette where you can then lift these colors up from. So I used a little bit of Gur, then I'm using Weeping Willow for a darker brown, and then I'm going to use some bright colors like Shooting Star, which is this bright yellow, Prom Queen, which is this nice pink color, and then I'll use a little bit of Later Gator, which is this nice green color. So we're kind of using colors that match the colors that we did on the BetterPress here. I like to just add a little bit of water right down onto my non-stick craft sheet. So then I'll just pick up a little bit of water, and I always like to start off with just a little bit of a wash of water on the surface. I find that it helps the colors blend a little bit easier rather than going right onto the surface and letting the colors sink right in, and then I can go in with my color. Now the awesome part about the BetterPress inks, like I said, is that they're waterproof. So when you go in with all of this water on the surface, none of that ink is going to run. It's going to stay nice and permanent and give you a nice solid line to color everything in. And then using my inks, I'm just going in and watercoloring this in. I'm watering down Gur just a little bit to get a nice light brown color, and we'll color this guy in. And then you can always go in with a little bit of a darker color like Weeping Willow, and then you can add a little bit of depth and dimension and some shading all over this bunny image. Really easy to do, and it really starts to bring the image to life beautifully. All right, then I'll add a little bit of pink to his ears. I'm going to really water down that Prom Queen color and add a little bit of pink there, and then we'll add a little bit of pink to his cheeks as well. And then we'll go in and start painting in the basket image. So I'm going to use some brown for the basket as well, and it's really easy to color these in also because we've already added color all on the image when we stamped it. So all we need to do is just add a little bit of a wash of color, and it fills everything in really easily. I'll color in the grass a little bit here as well as the stem on the flower. And I'm not being too particular, again, like with the stem, I'll just like add a little wash of color all throughout. And then we'll add a little bit of pink and yellow in for the eggs and for the tulips. Super easy to add all this watercoloring in. I love it. And it looks really great once you're all finished. All right, then once that's dry, I'm going to cut these pieces up to make them separate so that we can go in and do our die cutting. So I'm just going to cut them down roughly around the images. And this just makes it easier to run through our die cutting machine and cut everything out. And I'm just using these Spellbinder scissors. I love how sharp these are, so it makes it really easy to cut through. And then we'll go in and use the coordinating dies that are in that same set to be able to line up with those images and cut them out easily. I'll go in using a little bit of mint tape. Just look through your die and make sure that you have an even white border all the way around the image, and then tape it down. Super simple to do. And then we'll follow suit and do the exact same thing on all of our images. Grab a little bit of mint tape. And I love mint tape because even through the die cutting machine, with all that pressure, it's still not going to rip the cardstock, which I really like. It's nice and low tack, and you don't have to worry about it ruining your projects after you've already colored everything in. So to die cut these images out, I'm going to go in using my Scout machine, and I designed this in collaboration with Spellbinders. It's this really sleek black die cutting machine. It's nice and portable, so you can take it on the go, but it still has metal rollers inside of here, which makes it really easy, and it gives you all of the power as a regular Platinum machine, which is amazing. We're going to use the platform A, the platform B, and the cutting plate. And we'll place this right in here, and then we can place all of our images right in this platform. And I love this because it has a 3.5-inch platform here and opening, so you're able to line up all these images. Lots of little die cutting machines don't have that large of an opening and don't have this long of plates, but literally we're able to cut all 4 of these images at one time, which is really nice. We'll run this right through. So just hold your hand at the top to keep it nice and steady as you run it through, and it's really easy. Goes through there, super simple, and it's going to cut everything out beautifully. Then you can see, once we've run it through here, that all of these images, they just pop out so easily, and it gives a really nice detailed cut. All right, now to finish off the rest of the card, I want to do a background before we move on to the next BetterPress technique. So for this background, I'm going to do a little bit of embossing with a 3D embossing folder. I'm going to use this embossing folder called Woven, which gives this really cool, super detailed and textured basket weave texture. But there's also a bunch of embossing folders from my line, like this one called Plaster, which gives you a ton of kind of that swiped texture there. It looks almost like you swiped paint onto a canvas and gives you a bunch of texture. And this one called Flourish, which kind of gives you a more floral look. So there's really a lot of options with this. Now, whenever I do my 3D embossing, because this folder has so much texture and we don't want the cardstock to crack or warp at all, we want it to give a really great deep design. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of water, and I like to just kind of mist the surface of this cardstock to get it ready. It kind of softens the fibers of the cardstock and will help go through nice and smoothly. So then I'll just go in here, I'm going to place this on an angle so the basket weave texture is angled there, and then I'll place that down and we can run it through our die cutting machine. I'm going back in with the Platinum 6 because this embossing folder is quite large. So to do an embossing folder, we're going to use the A platform base. Then I'll put my 3D embossing folder with the cardstock right inside. And last, we'll put the D adapter plate, which is this hard gray plate, right on top. And we'll run it right through our die cutting machine. Super easy to do, and this is going to give such a beautiful textured impression to our cardstock. All right, and when we lift it out of the die cutting machine, there we go. It's this really beautiful look. You can see there's kind of a wood grain texture on the cardstock, as well as that woven look that goes in and out. Now, there's a little bit of a splatter here from that water, but don't worry, once this is all dry, it'll go back to normal, but that really helped it form to the surface of the cardstock and not get any cracking or warping going on. Now, to bring this embossed design to life, we're going to show how to add a little bit of ink. So I'm going to go in here with a little bit of Gur, which is this nice mid-tone brown color, and a little blending tool here. And then I'm going to go right in onto the surface and start adding some ink. And this is just going to really highlight that wood grain texture and really bring out the design nicely. And I'm not going to add ink to everywhere on this. I'm really going to focus it around the edges, which is going to kind of add some depth around the edge. And then it'll draw your eye to the center where it's naturally lighter on the card. And that's where we're going to have the focal point. So this is a really great way to kind of finish the card and give it some depth. If you're ever making a card and you think that it's missing something, I always recommend kind of adding ink to the edges, leaving the center lighter like that, and it'll really draw your eye in and make it look nice and finished. And I also can go in then with a little bit of a darker color. This one's called Weeping Willow. And to capture even more of that top surface texture, we can go right in with the ink pad and just kind of start swiping it onto the surface. And just even closer to the edge this time, and that's just giving even more darker depth and dimension, and it's going to really bring that wood grain texture to life on that surface. So check that out. It looks absolutely stunning, and I really love all of the texture that adds to the surface. So beautiful. All right, so here is the finished project. To put this all together, I actually used blue for the woven background, but I wanted to show a little bit of a different look, depending on what kind of look you want. If you wanted a little bit more masculine, maybe go with this brown. I think that's a really beautiful look. And I think this blue is so stunning as well to get more of a softer effect. Then I used the Essential Stylish Ovals from Spellbinders to get this nice oval look, blended a little bit of blue behind it, and then I put down all of these images to finish off the card. Now to finish this one, I added a little bit of sparkle to those eggs, and to do that, I just wanted to show you really quickly that you can go in using a little bit of Astro Paste, which is this beautiful glitter paste. There's a bunch of different colors of this, but this is the gold version. And I just take a little bit of that Astro Paste onto my finger, or you can even use it on a paintbrush. If you use it on a paintbrush, just make sure to wash your paintbrush really quickly afterwards, and I'm just going to lightly tap that right onto the surface of those eggs. And just a really, really tiny amount. A little bit goes a super long way. And because we applied it so thin, it's going to dry in like a matter of seconds. Like it's pretty much almost dry already, but it gives you all of that amazing sparkle to the surface of those eggs. And the awesome part about it is once that is completely dry, it's not going to come off on your recipient's hand, but it's still going to give you all of that amazing sparkle. And what's super cool is you can still see all the color underneath it because we applied it so thin like that. But I love that little finishing touch. A little finishing touch really makes a card go far, and that is a great way to use your BetterPress plates there. A really basic way to do it, but it looks beautiful. So for my next technique, I'm going to show you how to use these BetterPress plates for foiling with the Glimmer machine from Spellbinders. They do such an amazing job at getting a beautiful foiled result. I mean, check that out. It gets stunning foil every time, and it captures all of the amazing detail in these florals. For this card, I used the Spring Magnolias BetterPress plate and die set, and this has kind of a cluster of magnolias, and then it also has some smaller magnolias in here, as well as some different sentiments that work for lots of different occasions, like I love you, Happy Mother's Day, and So Grateful for You, which you can use all year long. And again, this set has the BetterPress plates on top, as well as the dies that coordinate along with it to easily cut all of the images and sentiments out from the set. To get these ready for foiling, we need to cut down our Glimmer Hot Foil. So I'm going to use the Glimmer Hot Foil from Spellbinders. This is a different foil than toner foil that you would run through a laminator. So if you have toner foil at home, don't use that for this project. You'll want to look for Glimmer foil or any foil that works with a hot foil system. That's the most important part, and that's going to transfer with these BetterPress plates. So I'm going to unroll a piece of foil here, and then I'll kind of place down the images so I know how much foil I need to use, and then I'll just roughly go in with my scissors and loosely cut around them. Now it doesn't need to be perfect. You'll just go in and cut out some of that foil, and that's probably a good amount that we're going to use on our card here. Then I'm going to go on my Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock. This cardstock is super thick and bright white, and it also works great for foiling. Then I'm going to place down my hot foil with that gold side facing up towards me. So you want the pretty side facing towards us. That gray side is kind of facing towards the cardstock there. And then I'm going to place down my BetterPress plates, which in this case is going to act as kind of a hot foil plate that you would usually get from the Glimmer line, but these work just as well for doing the foiling. Then I like to go in and use a little bit of mint tape to hold these down in place while they run through the machine. This way you won't get any movement from them, and they'll hot foil really nicely. Sometimes if you don't tape them down, they kind of move and shift, and they won't give you a great look. So to get a nice clean look, I always like to tape them down in place to make sure they're stuck. All right, then I'm going in with the Glimmer machine. We've already turned this on, and then you'll want to wait until that green light comes on and says platform ready. That's how you know this is nice and hot enough for us to do our hot foiling. So I'm going to take this piece that we've already prepared and place it down with those BetterPress plates facing down like this, and then we'll press this button. This green timer is going to start flashing, and once that goes solid, that's how you know it's ready to be pulled out and go through our machine. The green light just turned on, so we know we're ready. So then we can pull this carefully out of our Glimmer machine. I'm going to take the 2 plates that come with the glimmer system, the green one kind of down towards that hot side, and then we're going to pull this out and run it through our platinum die cutting machine. And we're just going to slowly run this through so that way all of our foiling makes sure to make contact. You don't want to go too fast through there, otherwise it might skip some points. And then that's going to transfer the foil down beautifully onto our images. I'm going to place this right back into our glimmer system, and then we can go in with our magnet tool and lift this right off the surface. That helps kind of handle these, and then I'm going in with my silicone mat, which is off to the side here, and this is a great place to kind of place those dies once you're done. So I'll just lift off the sentiment as well, and to get rid of it, you just kind of press this little button on top, and that drops it onto the surface. That way you don't have to touch any of the hot BetterPress plates. Then for the reveal, I'm going to peel off that foil and check out that stunning shine that it gives across your card. These BetterPress plates do such a great job at foiling through the glimmer machine, and it just gives you even one more use for the BetterPress plates. You don't have to just use them through the BetterPress machine. You can use a glimmer machine in case you already have this in your craft room. It really adds to the versatility. You can really level up the look of this image by giving it some color, and I'm going to show you a different way than just watercoloring them in with our Simon Hurley Create inks. So I'm going to go in using Shooting Star and Prom Queen to color these florals in. And I'm using some detail blending tools from Ranger. These come in a pack of 5, and they're double-ended little sponge tools that make it really easy to blend things in and get into all of the small little details on our images. So starting off, I'm going to go into Shooting Star, going to ink up our little detail blending tool, and then I'm going to start bringing the ink right onto the surface here. So I'm just able to kind of go in and follow along the surface of that image and color them in really easily. And because this little blending tool is so small, it's able to get into all of those tiny little details without coloring outside of the lines, and it gives it a really nice, beautiful, soft coloring. I love how that looks. And so I'll just do this along all of those florals. I kind of start in the center of the flowers to get the darkest impression there, and then I just blend that color out lightly to the edges. And then second, I'll go in with that Prom Queen color, which is that gorgeous pink. Going to lift off the lid there. Then I'll just use the other side of this tool and go in, ink it up, and I'm just going to go into the center of the flowers to add a little bit of some shading and depth and dimension with that pink color. And these inks blend together beautifully. My Simon Hurley Create inks were designed to blend really well, and they don't let you down with this. They give you a super intense and vibrant color, and they blend and layer beautifully. All right, that is looking awesome. Colored in really nicely. I love the look of those inks against that foiling. It shines beautifully. Lastly, I'll do it one more time, just going in with some Later Gator, another tool with the other end, and I'm just going to go in and do the green of those leaves. Super simple to do, and you can even add a little bit of shading at one edge just by going in kind of on the side of that tool and adding some darker color in there. And once it's completed, there is how it looks with all of that shine and beautiful, intense color. Now let's go in and make a beautiful striped background for our card that's really going to elevate the look of these florals. So I'm going in with a piece of bright pink cardstock, and I'm going to go in using one of my stripe stamps. Now this one is called Fading Lines from my Simon Hurley Create line, but we also have different stripe stamps like this Plaid Builder that would work beautifully with this technique. What I love so much about both of these stamps is that they're red rubber, so they're going to stamp beautifully, but also they have little peel apart cuts all throughout them. And all you need to do is just peel these images out, and you could use these stripes separately if you want to kind of stamp them on your card and create some kind of plaid designs and really go in and create your own look. But here, you can also put them right back together like a little puzzle and use it just as one solid background image, which is what I'm going to do today for some really easy stamping. But I love that there's options with these stamps, and it's the same price as a regular background stamp, which is great. For this, I'm going to go in using a little bit of Prom Queen ink, which is going to give a nice tone-on-tone look with this pink cardstock, and go in and ink the stamp up all over. And then we can take this, line it up with our pink cardstock, and I like to take the cardstock and stamp it into the ink like this because I find that I get the best impression that way, and then I just rub my fingers all over the back of the cardstock to make sure that everything is going to transfer beautifully. And then once that's transferred, we'll lift it off and check out that beautiful stripe pattern that we get. And I love that with this stamp, the stripes are more solid at the bottom and they kind of get lighter as you go up. I love the graphic look of these lines. And then to finish off the card, all I did was foil another grouping of flowers and I kind of pushed them together up here and lined them up. And then I glued this piece on about halfway up on the card, and I love that we left some white up here. I think it really elevates the design. And then finishing it off with our foiled sentiment that we foiled from that BetterPress set that says, "So grateful for you." I love this card so much, and I love that you can take those BetterPress plates and foil them like that. It gives such an elegant look, and it makes them look really professional and beautiful. If you have a BetterPress or if you're ready to get one, I think this video showed you lots of different ways to use them and why they're great in your collection. You can find everything that I used in today's video at Scrapbook.com. Thank you guys so much for watching and joining me today. I hope you had so much fun crafting along. Have a great day.